Alright, Team White. The let's not and say we did attack. D4. My opponent is saying that the stream is muted. Alright. Let's see if I believe that. Alright, let's go here. Maybe I want to play G3, Bishop G2. Something a little bit different from this. However, with C5, maybe I want to do something else, huh? Let's go with this. So we're entering, I think, what we call this is what? Queen's Gambit declined. Tarrasch, right? When there's this great tension between these pawns, and there's some, well, not some, there's a lot of symmetry. We're making identical moves. And is my opponent going to still follow with this? No. The tension has been released. I want to recapture towards the center. Now my bishop will have play on this diagonal. And I think right here, there is now maybe a problem for black, because I have an opportunity for a structural change, but to be a bit more specific, it's a structural change with tempo. So I'm really considering C5 right now, and then that will secure me a 3 versus 2 majority, and that will be my plan. It's not always the easiest thing to come up with in a chess game, maybe the most difficult phase for people, the middle game, but sometimes the pawn structure gives those hints, lets you know you could run forward with that. And I'm going to do this with the follow-up of bishop b5. I'm looking to remove this knight so that my opponent cannot get this central break-in so easily. It's pinned right now. I think this is the correct way to retreat. The bishop does need to keep a close eye on this square, as otherwise I play bishop f4 and things are wonderful. I don't know that there's a need to take this knight just yet. What about just castle and then rook e1? I like that. Maybe I can force, maybe I'll only take after a6. And if that's the case, now I could take the knight, and after the recapture, you'll note that the bishop then does not have the a6 square available. So maybe by just holding off on this capture, maybe only after, you know, it's hit, would I take? This is still, just by having pressure, maybe a better way to view this is that just the threat of taking the knight is better than just taking it. Right? What's that line? The threat is better than the execution, or something like that. So anyhow, I have a 3 versus 2 on the queen side. My opponent, okay, now I'm gonna run forward with it, or should I still just back up? No, I'm gonna take. What I was saying, I have a 3 versus 2 on the queen side. My opponent has a 2 versus 1 in the center, so I want to make sure of what, and I'm actually not liking my decision, come to think of it. Yeah, that's a nice move. That's a nice move right there. Well, here's the plan. I have a plan. I promise I do have a plan here. I don't know how great it is, but I want to trade dark square bishops, and once I have that, I'll look to play my knight to b6 and this knight to e5. This right here is definitely a sensitive point for black, just like in my game earlier. If you were here earlier to watch my game that I should have lost against Lucid Chess, it was a Catalan. I was playing the black side, and the knight jumped into c5. I ended up taking, and he just turned out to be a great liability. And so yeah, anyhow, I'm seeing that happening in this position as well. In that game, there wasn't a d5 pawn that I had around, and this right here, It does provide a flight square for my opponent's king, but it's also weakening now, especially with g5. And these moves right here are chasing. It's a case of chasing my bishop away to squares that it really wanted to already go to. I was saying that I wanted to get the dark square bishops off the board, and now that has happened without really any time passing for me. So recapture towards the center unless I have a good reason not to. I did think of pawn takes. I was, for some reason, envisioning that my rook was still on f1. But towards the center, I do have a flight square. Not the greatest one in the world, but I'm going to go with it. And now I think it's going to happen. What am I talking about? I'm talking about getting my knight to here. Do I want to do that right away? Is it even needed right away? I'm not going to do it. I want to get here. Can my knight be very annoying here? Am I going... Should I be going somewhere else? Maybe I should have done this. Is f6 going to be a move and then e5? Somehow. Hopefully my knight could be disruptive enough. c6 still has my attention. Okay, let's get there. And now this could be a big problem. Okay, giving up the exchange here. And now what do you do in response? I want to not give up my... This guy is, he's unhealthy. I don't want to allow this c-pawn for d-pawn exchange, just like, again, referencing that earlier game out of the Catalan. That c5 advance is one that I would like to get in because the c-pawn in that position, just as it is in this position, is a liability for as long as it's on the board. It's backward. Doesn't have any buddies, no helpers, no other pawns that could support it. It's queens. Queens that have to, or the queen right now that has to watch over that guy. Okay, and now what's my rook on a1 doing? Nothing. Let's get him doing something. So all my pieces are working at this point. Less than a minute. And now, if I play knight here, there's queen takes. Maybe bump my, oh man, just move, right? Just move. Alright, let's bump up here. Maybe I could get him b4. I want to get rid of this knight. Okay, now I'm going to be able to get rid of him. I thought just rook here would have been better. And I'm going to take with the rook. Not because of... I'm not seeing that I have something against this pawn, but I really don't want this structure to take place. And now I'm going to retreat just here, because I still want to focus on maybe this pawn. Maybe give something back. And now I am going to take... This queen is unprotected, so maybe I could take this pawn at some point. Okay, I'm not going to take again. I'm just going to double up. Files are opened. If you're up the exchange, create pawn exchanges. You open files by doing just that. So something needs to be done with this guy. I have this pre-move on, and now what? 7th rank. Pieces are falling. No good defense. Rook here. Mate happening very soon. No good solution. No time either. Pigs. Queen has to give herself up. Otherwise, it is mate. Unless she plays here. Mate in one, at least. Okay. No time. Alright, good game, Shitako. Let's back up. And I think this is a miniature lesson in what? Pawn structure. Right here. Decision time. Well, for one, I don't know that you should really even take right now. I mean, I think it's okay. But maybe still play the mimicking game. It's not the greatest thing to continue to do. Eventually it catches up with you and it'll turn out to be bad, but I think it's still quite alright for you to run with this advance. And then, force me to make a decision. Do I take? Do I release the tension? Do I move my bishop and then you take? And then maybe follow up with b5, bishop b7. So consider a6 at this point. but let's just assume that, okay, yeah, you did capture here. The bishop's decision to play to d6 opposed to e7 should be it's a big decision. c5 with the structural change, if it's on d6, c5 structural change and with tempo. If it's on e7, I don't get that tempo. So that's one of the main differences, and knowing that now, maybe bishop e7 is going to be a better thing to now run with. Bishop e7. If I'm playing c5, maybe you could post up on e4. I'm not 100% sure, but just if there's one quick point to make, just know the difference between d6 and e7 in this case. My opponent is typing that they were looking for e5 push and thought it would be okay to bring the bishop back to c7. Well, you never really ended up getting that e5 move in. So you're playing with definitely some plan in mind, but I think the idea to get this pawn advance in is just much too difficult because how I can be following up in these cases here with putting pressure on a piece, my bishop coming out, getting ready to eliminate a key defender of this, key supporter for this e5 advance. So I don't know that you should be looking to get an e5 right here, right now. More development maybe, bishop e7 or the most technical one that I'm seeing is really to not take on this square just yet and play a6. But if it does get to this point, maybe it's best you do consider bishop e7 instead of d6. Okay, let me close out. Good game, Shitako.